I got an article by Michael Bronstein that is out of the Reader from February 2018. Today's May 23rd, 2018. The article is called Past Lives, Cosmic Connections, and the 100 BB Theory. All right, let's get started with a point of agreement that there is some kind of conscious living force that animates human beings, actually all living things, but for our purposes, we're talking humans. It's a fact that the universe is filled with energy. Can't go anywhere and not find it. It affects all things, flows through all things, and you can call it whatever you want. This is a brief review. When a candle is extinguished, there is a window of time where if a flame is reapplied to the column of smoke rising from the dead wick, the flame jumps back down the column and reignites the candle. The molecules of smoke have not dissipated enough for the candle to be permanently dead. Now imagine that is sort of what happens when a human being dies, only the molecules are actually globules of life force. Some theosophical educators might call them orgone elements, an admittedly controversial approach. So back to our human being. Imagine a person dies and their life force starts to dissipate, but within that window of time, a source of life energy reapplies to that force and the person comes back from the edge of death, just like that extinguished candle comes back. We know people have near-death experiences and often come back feeling changed. The 100 BB theory can explain that as well as more. New metaphor. Okay, now hang in there. We're going to switch metaphors from orgone or smoke molecules to little magnetic BBs, like those little round things used at a kid's BB gun. Imagine, if you will, that a human being, let's call him Bob, is made up of 100 BBs of life energy, all neatly held together by a source of magnetism applied to it. Imagine a BB stuck to the top of his head, holding all those 100 BBs that are Bob together, and thus he's alive. Now imagine all humans are riding together in the universe like they're riding in a train boxcar. So all humans in a train boxcar. On the universe. Next to Bob in the boxcar is Sally, Tom, Mary, Larry, and so on. All animated humans made up of organized bodies of 100 BBs. But check this out. Also in the boxcar, rolling around on the floor as the train moves along the track of time, are the loose BBs of people who have gone before, lived before. It's a jumble of BBs that used to belong to Aidens and Melanies and Freds and Ethans and Isabellas and billions of BBs from dead people just rolling loose. They're all spread out far and wide. Okay, as Don Henley sang, "Are you with me so far?" Now back to Bob. Say Bob has a near-death experience. The magnet has detached from his head and his BBs start to roll away. But what if the magnet comes back soon enough to recapture the BBs and reassemble Bob as a human again? He comes back to life after a near-death experience, but consider that when excuse me, that light's too bright. Still bright. Bright as a mother, man. Shit. Alright. Apologize. But okay, so Bob dies just at the last minute, gets reassembled, gets his 100 BBs. So consider that when he does die, maybe 1 or 2 or 10 BBs managed to roll far enough away that they didn't make the renewal. Well, the magnet picks up whatever BBs are close enough to fill out the 100 needed. What if magnet picks up a couple BBs from the late Ethan, a BB from the late Mary, 2 from the passed on Fred, and so on? Bob no longer has all the same BBs he had before the near-death experience, so Bob feels different after the near-death experience. That's a common observation. That matters for my idea, but more of an explanation. There's more. Now let's backpedal. We've been describing the original Bob as if Bob were made of all new Bob-specific BBs of his conception. But he wasn't, because the Big Bang was a long time ago. That was my own. The Big Bang part was me. But he wasn't. We are all made from recycled BBs that have been around and used to make humans for a very long time. Excuse me. Not that there aren't an occasional new BB or two made once in a while, but there are as rare as Bitcoins and of a limited number. So think this over. When Bob first came to life, he had to be made of 100 BBs that existed in the boxcar. When the Magnet came down to make an entirely new composite human, Bob Magnet went to the floor of the boxcar and picked up 100 BBs. Whose BBs did the Magnet grab? It was a random selection of 100 BBs. Magnet may have gotten 10 BBs previously used by Tom, born in 1897, died in World War I. Magnet picked up 12 BBs from someone who lived in 524 AD named Hussein, 4 BBs from a 16th century poet named Johann, 4 from a prehistoric cave woman with no name, and 20 from Jacques Robard from the 18th century. In total, Bob gets 100 BBs to call his own, but they all had history. So Bob is living his life in 2017 with his assembly of pre-owned BBs, just as we all are. He's not intellectually aware that he has 20 BBs from Jacques, but he knows he likes brie and French sourdough and watching the Tour de France on TV. Then one day he meets a lovely woman named Tamara. He almost feels like he found her. They recognize the connection the moment they shake hands. Tamara feels the same way about Bob. What they don't consciously know is that Tamara has 12 BBs from the previously noted Jacques. The same Jacques that provided Bob's 20. No wonder they feel connected. They have some common BBs gathered from the bottom of the boxcar. On top of that, Tamara has a few other BBs that once were used by Bob's great-grandfather. Bob has a couple of BBs from a woman who once cheated on his great-grandfather. Are you starting to get the picture? It can get really pretty complicated. Look, it's not a theory that is going to be proven in a laboratory any day soon, but it has a bit of a basis in science and quantum physics and facts about energy. All I know is that the 100 BB theory helps explain a lot of things. Why and how we are eternal beings, what happens in a near-death experience, and why we have certain connections with people and conflicts with people in this world. Just watch out for those women who got a few too many BBs from a dance hall girl in a Wild West brothel, or men who had a roving eye in the roaring 20s. Not all magnetic attractions are the good kind. Be well. So yeah, I say that because I've always ran through my head, why the fuck do I connect with somebody so well? How does that work out? Am I going crazy? And that 100 BB theory explanation is much, much easier to deal with than that aspect of craziness in my life. I assume you might wonder the same thing. I really want to find out how big of a Dharma bum you are, because I don't know, just interested in you.